All right. The December 18th meeting of the Compliance and Amendments Committee is now in session. The first call to order.
Call to order, roll call, and agenda changes. Roll call first. Member Highland?
Here.
Member Highland here. Member LaHood?
Here.
Member LaHood here. Chair Kanata?
Here.
Chair Kanata here. We have a quorum.
I don't think we have any agenda changes, right? Okay.
That I know of, no.
All right, next item, please.
Approval of the September 18, 2018 Compliance and Amendments Committee meeting minutes.
Okay, do we have a motion?
I motion to approve the minutes.
A second.
Okay. Any public comment on the motion to approve the minutes? Seeing none, let's take it by acclamation. Okay.
Number 3.
Please.
Item number 3, consent agenda, determination of jurisdiction, file number 18085, 18090, 18091.
Okay, so all we're doing with these three items is determining if the records are public and if this task force has jurisdiction on them. So I've looked at them. They all seem to be fine. All the records seem to be public, and we definitely have jurisdiction. Is that anybody have anything else? No. Okay. So,
Agreed.
Okay. Yeah. Do we have a motion?
I motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second jurisdiction.
Okay. Do we have any public comment on the motion to approve the consent agenda? Seeing no public comment, let's have a call vote.
Here to speak on the items listed on the consent agenda? I guess not.
Okay. It says we need a roll call on this one instead of by acclamation on the agenda, so let's do that.
Okay. Member LaHood?
Yes.
Member LaHood, aye. Member Highland?
Aye.
Member Highland, aye. Chair Kanata?
Aye.
Chair Kanata, aye. And the motion passes.
All right. Next item, please.
Item number 4, public comment. Members of the public may address the committee on matters that are within the committee's jurisdiction but not on today's agenda.
Is there any public comment? Seeing none, let's move on.
Item number 5? Item number 5, file number 18001, hearing on the status of order of determination. Complaint filed by Julian Sarkar against Jose Cisneros and the Office of the Treasurer and Tax Collector for violating Administrative Code Section 6721 by failing to respond to a request for public records in a timely manner.
Okay. Do we have Mr. Sarkar here? So,
Chair, I'd just like to let you, I don't have a mic. I'd just like to note that this was heard by the Sunshine Ordinance Task Force on October 3rd, and the committee, the task force referred to the committee to ensure that the requested redacted copies of records be provided to the petitioner. I believe in your packet you have a letter from the petitioner with their comment on that matter.
okay. And since he's here, why don't you tell us, have you received these?
Thank you. Yes, so I'm the complainant, Julian Sarkar, S-A-R-K-A-R. I did receive the letter from Ms. Buckley on behalf of the Treasurer Tax Collector. So I think that we can agree that we're at an impasse, essentially, that the Treasurer Tax Collector did produce some records at the previous hearing and did provide some information. And so it's my understanding that task force has ordered them to provide, for example, if they had received a database in which, my nickname along with my home address had been included, to provide that. But with any information they contend is privileged, be redacted. And then they responded to the order with a letter saying that, we've complied with the order as much as we can, pursuant to the different evidentiary privileges. We're not going to produce any more information. So I think that's where we're at, is an agreement to disagree that they won't produce anything else without a judicial intervention. So,
Okay,
Right.
Thank you. Can we hear from the response?
Yeah.
Is there anybody else presenting evidence for the petitioner? No? Okay. The respondent, please.
Good afternoon. So as Mr. Sarkar just explained before, that's correct. On November 13th, our office sent a letter to the task force in response to the order of the October 3rd meeting. And in the letter, we essentially summarized our position that we set forth during the October 3rd hearing, that we believe we've complied with our obligations at this point. And we produced non-privileged, non-exempt records to Mr. Sarkar. In cases where documents were withheld, we provided a written explanation, and namely that the records are confidential under Business and Tax Regulations Code, that's the San Francisco Ordinance, Section 6.22-1, the California Government Code, Section 6254, subsection K, and the California Evidence Code, Section 1040. We, at this point, will not make any further production of records.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else speaking on behalf of the respondent? See none. Okay. So what I remember most of this case that was heard before the full task force was the fact that the task force determined that even if the entire spreadsheet was confidential, producing it redacted does have some merit because you can see how many columns there were in the spreadsheet and how big it was. And your department is still refusing to do that. Is that the case?
Yes, because we believe, even as you described, producing a redacted spreadsheet where you could see, how many columns were redacted and whatnot, and how large it was, would reveal confidential information. And for that reason, we did not do so.
Okay. Thank you. Anybody else have any questions? Or?
I mean, we had a lengthy discussion at that meeting. That's what we asked for. I don't, what's the next step at this point?
Mr. Sarkar, could you come up, please?
Sure.
So when you were up there just a minute ago, you said the two parties have agreed to disagree. What would your next steps be? I'm just curious because there's a few things the task force can do, but I'd like to hear how are you going to pursue this?
I would like the information. It's my understanding that the only other means of pursuing this information would be trying to enforce the task force order, as well as pursuing the records separately under the Public Records Act and the Sunshine Ordinance through seeking a court order. And I'm going to level with you. I don't have the $450 to do that. So, right. So I have I do not immediately intend to seek a court order, which is what I understand is the only other way to get to compel the treasurer and tax collector to produce the records that the task force has demanded.
Okay, thank you. So this committee has done, at one other time in the 2.5 years I've been on it, have invoked 6721E, which since the task force requested this information, and since I personally can't see where a redacted spreadsheet with no information, just columns and rows, is confidential, 6721E, part of it says, 21E, part of it says if the custodian refuses or fails to comply with any such order within 5 days, the Sunshine Ordinance Task Force shall notify the district attorney or the attorney general, who may take whatever measures she or he deems necessary to ensure compliance with the provisions of the ordinance. And we've done that one time. I don't know, you guys want to talk about that, or?
I wasn't there at the original hearing, October 3rd. So this was sent to this committee to follow up to see if further documents were revealed?
It was, yes, and specifically, there was a spreadsheet that the respondents claimed had totally privileged information, and the full task force, I believe it was, the discussion was started by member Josh Wolf,
Okay.
had the discussion that even if all the information is privileged, the knowledge of how many columns and rows are in that spreadsheet is not privileged.
And perhaps the headings on the columns.
Yeah, even if the
that's
headings
not
are
right.
considered privileged,
Right.
it would give some information as to the quantity at least.
Could the respondent approach, please? So it sounds like the request was pretty clear from the full task force last time, and your response is advised by the city attorney, I'm guessing. Did you have a conversation with the city attorney to check on your position?
I can't speak to whether we spoke to the city attorney about this, but this is the decision of the department, and we believe that the decision last time was an incorrect reading of the ordinance,
Okay.
of the confidentiality provisions. No, it's not privileged, it's confidential.
Okay. And you haven't consulted the city attorney on this, on your side, that you know?
I don't feel that that's an appropriate question. I'm sorry. I don't know how to respond to that.
Okay. No, usually departments will check with the city attorney to see what their position is and get advice from them. I'm just curious to see if they've
This
given
is
you any
the-
advice.
Okay, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. This is the decision of the department, and we believe the decision last time was not in accordance with the San Francisco Business and Tax Regulations Code.
Okay, thank you.
So, I mean, I feel that we should send this back to the task force with a recommendation at 6721E. I mean,
It's pretty
the
clear-cut.
department is refusing, through their own legal interpretation, to provide data that was requested.
Did we get an opinion from our city attorney at the full task force?
We had an attorney there when we made that, when we asked them to produce the data.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I think it looks pretty clear cut to me. I would second that motion.
Okay. Do we have rebuttals or
I believe the motion is to refer the matter
back?
to the SOTF with a recommendation to pursuant to 67.21E to refer to the district attorney and
The district attorney.
to the district attorney for enforcement.
So we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I think you made the motion. I seconded it. Yeah. But we can discuss before
Okay.
we take public
Yeah,
comment.
well,
Frank made the motion? You made the motion, Frank? Okay.
and,
Lila second?
Or you motioned,
okay,
Yeah.
so
Island
let's have
second.
public comment.
yeah.
Right, on the motion? Is there any public comment on the motion? Seeing no public comment, okay. So,
So it sounds like there's going to be a lot of back and, I guess, so the next step is that we seek,
then the next step would be this comes up in front of the full task force
Yep.
again, and the full task force will determine whether to take the recommendation of the committee or not. The respondent and the petitioner hopefully will be there, both of them, and unless there's new information, I would think it would just be the task force having discussions
right, and
and determining what to do.
and it's, at this point, there doesn't seem to be new information except that
Right.
the department says, we don't think we have to do this.
Correct, and I don't feel comfortable just dismissing this here at this level, since the
Right.
full task force requested this information, and the department, through their own logic, is not providing the information. So let's vote.
Yeah, quick question for the respondent. Have you provided redacted forms in the past to petitioners that you are aware of?
We even provided several redacted documents to Mr. Sarkar. I believe we did redacted, or maybe they weren't redacted at all.
Please come to the
Use the
mic.
microphone, please.
Yeah.
Although you have a lovely speaking voice, we need to have it in the microphone.
Thank you. So what I was provided with was essentially the equivalent of what's called a privilege log in legal proceedings, or it's an itemized list of the documents that were being withheld. And so that's in addition to the documents that had been provided to me before, which primarily consisted of my communication with their office. Yes.
Okay. And to the respondent, so there's no way we can get out of this. It sounds like there's nothing more you feel that you should do based on the rules that you guys follow. Is that your position?
Yeah, so, I mean, we discussed this a lot at the last hearing, and I don't want to revisit that right here, but so it's our perspective is we collect information at our office, and we do it all the time. I mean, not all the time, but we do it frequently, and it's to a lot of different companies and entities doing business within the city, and it's really confidential. It's, our most important thing is to keep this information close to the vest, to encourage cooperation, and by revealing even a redacted version of this, you're going to be able to, by process of elimination, figure out who gave it to us. And we feel that we made it a commitment, and it's consistent with the code and the confidentiality provisions, that doing so would violate their confidentiality, not Mr. Sarkar's, but this other third party that's not named, and we feel it compromises that, and we cannot do it we just don't see any way to kind of thread that needle.
And that was my question. I'm sure you've had these kind of requests in the past.
I don't know. I've been in this position for a year. We've had other sensitive requests before about sources of information that, might be competitive business intelligence to competitors and things like that. And the office has had a pretty firm line that we won't reveal information that could jeopardize, companies' confidential business information, or could maybe give a competitor a leg up, things like that. We treat very seriously, and we do not reveal it.
And what was your position again?
That it's confidential under...
I'm sorry, what's your title?
Oh, I'm the tax collector attorney, and I'm also the custodian of records.
Got it. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, so take a vote. We had the motion already.
Yeah, we took a roll.
What?
We already took a roll.
No, we didn't take a vote on the motion.
We took public comment. There wasn't any.
They did not take a vote yet.
We haven't taken a
right.
vote yet, but you might want to restate the motion.
Okay. So, Member LaHood, you made the motion?
The motion was made. We are made by.
The motion was to refer this back to the full task force with a
Right.
violation of 6721E.
21E. Yeah. Okay. Member Kanata, Chair
Aye.
Kanata. Chair Kanata, aye. Member Highland.
Aye.
Member Highland, aye. Member LaHood.
Aye.
The motion passes.
And through the chair, you might want to add a note to have our DCA kind of take a close look. I mean, they're going to write something on it anyway, but they're curious. I'll let the chair make that.
Just to have DCA call, or the other, I forget the other DCA's name now.
Wolf.
Wolf to review this again. Okay. Thank you. And next item, please.
Can I just say one more thing quickly on that? No.
Sure, we
I
asked
just,
questions.
on the motion for our next proceeding, I would just ask that, Ms. Buckley and potentially myself be excused, what we call in legal proceedings, submitting on the pleadings or the things we've already submitted. We've already provided quite a bit of information for the task force to consider. I appreciate the task force continuing to pursue the enforcement of the order. I don't think there's a lot of value in Ms. Buckley repeatedly saying, I'm afraid I can't tell you that. I think that where we're at is kind of an agreement to disagree I don't know that there's too much value in requiring both of us to be here for the task force deciding to submit this to the Attorney General.
Okay, thanks for your opinion.
Would you like to provide any advice regarding that, or you're at your discretion?
Yeah, no, if that's what he feels about it, that's fine for me.
Through the chair, you might want to put a note that it seems like both parties may not be there at the full task force meeting. If you might want to check with the other one as well, the respondent.
Maybe a better question is to ask if they are in agreement that we can proceed without their attendance.
Might be a good question. Let her respond.
I think the treasurer and tax collector would probably appear if there was another hearing.
Okay, thank you.
And through the chair, just to be clear, the reason that we're doing this is because this was a decision by the full task force, and we feel as though we should not make a decision just in this committee, and that it needs to go back to the full task force.
Correct. My reason is that the department was specifically asked to produce this information, and one of the purposes of this committee is to assure that compliance is met, and compliance hasn't been met. So now it's up to the full task force to determine if we should take the action requested or any other action, of which there really aren't that many. So, yeah. Okay.
Maybe we can ask the petitioner if he would allow the task force to proceed without his attendance. And it
I
appears that
believe he
does.
said that.
And we can note that in the minutes.
But yes, I would agree to these proceedings, whether or not the treasurer tax collector were present, to carry on.
We can proceed without you being there. Great.
Yes.
Thank you.
We will so note in the minutes.
Okay.
Next item. Item number 6, file number 18058, hearing on the status of the order of determination, complaint filed by Deontay Walker and Tamara Reed against the San Francisco Municipal Transportation Agency for violating Administrative Code Section 6721 by failing to respond to a request for public records in a timely and or complete manner. Before this hearing started, I got a voicemail from Mike Helms, or phone call. I spoke to him, and he said that Don Ellison, who has been appearing on this particular matter, was out ill, as were Caroline Salaya and Roberta Boomer. I think he's at a board meeting, MTA board meeting. So he submitted, I asked him to give me something in writing, an email, stating just that. I have.
So the respondent is not present. Okay.
Sure.
I have one. Yeah.
Okay. I misread.
Hello.
So at the October meeting, we asked the SFMTA to provide five additional pieces of information: Mr. Walker's personal file, workers' compensation forms with signatures of Mr. Walker and his supervisor, updated and approved leaves and vacation schedule, AWOL policy, dates and documentation, and page number of the MOU related to the leave policy and requests. Has any of that been provided?
So I was talking to Cheryl earlier, and we did receive the personnel file, but we received that, I want to say we met with them twice since we met with you guys, and they told us again at that time that we had to request it in writing. So at our first meeting, I requested it in writing and didn't get it until probably 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks later. The workers' comp form, they're saying what they have is what they have. There's no signature from the supervisor. The updated and approved leaves, we pretty much got the same thing that we already got. They're saying, he not considered AWOL, but he is considered AWOL, which is kind of outside of your guys' jurisdiction. But it's like the forms that we're requesting. It's kind of like, how do you give them at once, but you can't provide them again, sort of thing. That's the same thing with the vacation stuff. we've asked for that stuff, even when sitting down and meeting with them after October 3rd, and we were told the last time we met with them, can't remember the exact date, but I can check in my phone, there were some things that they were going to follow up on and get back to us. And we had a meeting November 5th with the civil service, and they showed up there and said, hey, we'll discuss these things, we'll get you these things. But still, as of today, even sending follow-ups to those things, or we were supposed to meet for a third time, and we got an email from Donald Ellison saying, we don't have a follow-up, we gave you what we gave you, and pretty much that is that. And, that's pretty much where we are. As far as the AWOL policy within the city's policy, there isn't one specific into, I guess, the city's stuff, but there is one in the MOU that I got from her today, which the actual page, because prior to talking to Cheryl, they never gave us a page number, and I'm not even sure if they even knew exactly where it was. But that was something that was asked. I do have a concern in regards to the email or the phone call that came today, because it's kind of a coincidence that this email would be provided in length with details about what's going on, for him to say that he doesn't really have knowledge about what's going on. But Mike Helms is Cheryl and Norona's supervisor, so I'm pretty sure he's very well aware, as he is the one who started the email, like the email communication for them not being timely was directly to him. And that's the reason why we're here. So it's kind of questioning to me to figure out, for you to say the people who are knowledgeable about this don't know, but you write this email in place of them with details about pretty much the same thing that we've talked about with Donald Ellison or Cheryl and Norona. But again, honestly, we have so many different agencies that we're actually dealing with, SFMTA, and within the probably 10 agencies, or 8 to 10 that we are dealing with, you guys are the only ones that have said that they're required to do something, which is show up. And I feel like that's maybe why they're saying, oh, we can't show up, because with other places like the civil service, they can't enforce them, they can't make them or tell them they're required to do something. So we have a case with them that has been running long since the beginning of this year. It's going on a year. So, I don't know kind of what to do at this point.
So, there's...
Did the respondent get a copy of this? Did she get a copy of this? Okay, great. Thanks.
So it seems, it seems like there's certain things that would seem to, that they should provide. If this person's on workman's comp and there's a form there, why wouldn't they have a form that's got signatures on it, things like that? So I don't.
Yeah, and the comments about, well, we could only print this thing once and we can't supply it again, to me seems like very poor record keeping, if that's true, and it just seems questionable.
Another thing also, with the part that's in the email that was sent today saying the SFMTA payroll stuff, again, that is something that they discussed with us, and my question as yours is, how do you produce something but can't reproduce it? And when we asked before getting here for copies of the pay stubs and those sort of things, we were told that they're in the system, and we went and requested them from the payroll department, and we found that there was one, as it says, from the sick pay, but not the vacation payout. The vacation payout was exactly what they handed us when we met with them in May, but it had the sick pay and the vacation pay on it. What they're trying to provide to us is two separate things, which shows that pretty much Deontay was still employed by the city when this all was done after he was employed. So he has had benefits and other things taken out of his out of his check as if he was still an employee, and they're saying, oh, it's off cycle. They made him wait 2 weeks even just to get his final paycheck stub. But when asked, why are these things happening? What is this? Even in the civil service, we apologize that these things have not been done in a timely manner, or we apologize that these things, happen. We've put in new measures in place so that they
Right,
don't
but,
happen
I
again.
mean, again, we can't control
Right.
any of that, right? All we can do is ask them to produce public records. So,
Mr. Chairman?
yes,
I believe there's a list of 5 things that were ordered to be produced. It appears that 3 of them have been produced, the personnel file,
Right.
the AWOL policy, dates and documentation, and the page number of the MOU. The 2 remaining items, my suggestion is that we ask the SFMTA to provide it to both us and the respondent so we can determine whether or not that complies with our request.
and I would put a time frame on that. I mean, them
It'll
not,
be at our next meeting in this committee.
which is January.
I'm
It's
not
odd.
sure.
It's normally odd numbers. This,
February, EOTC is a January.
Why not just 2 weeks?
yeah, why not have them produce
We can
it?
ask them to produce
Let's
it
have them
within.
produce it in 2 weeks.
In 2
This
weeks.
way,
However, we will not have a meeting to confirm
but
or deny.
at least it's produced to us and
Yes, we can ask it to be
and the
produced.
complainant. And if you get it and it satisfies your request, please let us know.
Yes. That's something we've also met twice since October. and-
Right.
And, we will ask them to address those 2 issues specifically and to send it to both us and the respondent. So if it's not satisfactory, we can have an additional hearing to determine why those documents are not satisfactory.
And would that be a committee hearing, a full?
And in addition to that, if they don't respond within 2 weeks, would you like this to go back to the
Yeah,
full task force with a recommendation to find violation for
Yeah.
non-production?
exactly.
Because that would be faster than waiting for the
Yeah.
next committee.
Let's do that. Let's
Yes,
let's
just to
have-
confirm, since this is a long motion, I believe the motion would be to request that the SFMTA provide a response to the task force and the respondent regarding the question of workers' compensation forms with signatures of Mr. Walker and his supervisor, and update and approval leaves and vacation schedule. The
within
other
2
three-
weeks.
Within 2 weeks, may we say by
January 2nd.
January 2nd?
Sure.
As
Yeah,
with the holidays.
By
and so
January 2nd is fine.
By January 2nd. And then in addition to that, this matter will be referred back to,
Back to the full task force.
Failure,
back to the full.
or failure to do so.
Failure to produce these documents will result in the referral back to the task force with a recommendation to find a violation of 6721E of failure to
Produce
comply with the order of this task force.
Correct. Okay, I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
And if they are produced, it is my assumption that the complainant will withdraw the complaint.
Right. Yep, okay. Any public comment on the motion? Seeing none, let's have a vote.
Thank you.
Member, Chair Kanata?
Aye.
Chair Kanata, aye. Member LaHood?
Aye.
Member LaHood, aye. Member Highland?
Aye.
Member Highland, the motion passes.
Okay, let's do the next item.
Item number 7, file number 18086, complaint filed by Mark Sullivan against the Mission Dolores Green Benefit District Formation Committee for allegedly violating Administrative Code Section 6714 by failing to allow video and audio recording, filming, and still photography of a policy body.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I think it is prudent pursuant to our city attorney's memo that we review the determination of jurisdiction before we proceed any further, as that is the biggest question in this matter.
Right. So this is against the Mission Dolores Green Benefit District Formation Committee. So do we have anybody representing them here? Come on up, please.
Hi, thanks for having me. Not used to the microphone? Need it higher?
Yes.
Okay.
All right,
So,
how's
so
that?
This is the petitioner?
this is the respondent, but so the first thing we have to do is if we have jurisdiction. So what is this committee? How was it formed?
I have some prepared statements, but I can jump right into that if you'd like me to. Long story short, Jim and I, who's joining us today.
Who are you?
I'm Conan McHugh. I'm slightly less famous than my neighbor, Mark Zuckerberg, that was on the agenda. So, yeah. But I'm Conan McHugh. I have Jim Chappelle with me. Our colleagues that are part of the Dolores Park Green Benefit Formation Committee are... we're simply local residents and business owners that care about our neighborhood and are trying to activate and make a difference. We have been, right, we're all connected by our concern in trying to make our neighborhood more welcoming while preserving its scenic beauty and also its unique character. I think the mission's got a lot of character that we all appreciate. We've been very transparent in our exploration.
But before you get into that, how was this committee created? Because
we're meeting. I got involved by talking at the dog park.
Was this city created by the Board of Supervisors, by another department in the city?
We're not elected officials. We're not members of a city agency. We weren't created by ordinance or resolution. We're not an initiative of a policy body or a passive body. I'm going to argue if successfully created, we'd probably be subject and leverage those. But at this point in time, we're just a group of neighbors that are getting together and leveraging the resources at this.
Okay, thank you for now. Mr. Sullivan, where are you? I'm bypassing the prepared statements for a minute.
No, that's fine.
How is his description of how this committee started correct?
I have no idea how it started, but I do know that if it wasn't for Ordinance 14-14, which has Article 15A, that's the roadmap to make green benefit districts. And this committee or any other committee that forms to try and form a green benefit district has to follow the Article 15A.
Okay. So according to the Sunshine Ordinance, that we have to determine if the Sunshine Task Force has jurisdiction over this type of a committee.
Can I say one other thing?
Sure.
In part of forming this committee, in part of forming a GBD, they make policy decisions that are not, like, their neighbors cannot opt out of them. And they decide what the boundaries are, the weighted vote, when the vote's going to happen, how long the petition's going to happen. They make a lot of decisions that affect their neighbors that they can't opt out of.
Okay, thank you. Well, members, any discussion or comment?
Not quite yet.
Not yet.
We'll have a public comment a little bit later. I first hearing it sounds like it's just the members of the public getting together and creating their own body. But I also heard from the petitioner here that they have an effect on what happens at Dolores. I'd like to explore that a little bit more. And to do that, are they sanctioned in any way, shape, or form by the city?
Yeah,
that's what we're trying to get to the root of, right?
Correct. Yes. Because all the public meeting provisions in the Sunshine Ordinance are based on, a city department or committees created by, and the list goes down.
Could I have the respondent?
Mr. Sullivan.
Mr. Sullivan?
Wait,
Sorry. The respondent. Mr. McHugh. So, once again, where does the funding come for your committee?
Well, there's a good portion of our free time. And then we also did get some funding from former Supervisor Sheehy.
Dan Sheehy.
Yeah, yeah, and that was in response to another community meeting that we held, right? So there's been a variety of different litter and then also safety issues facing the Mission Dolores neighborhood. We started getting together, holding open discussions on what we could do. We started reaching out to the city bodies that we could lobby. And at one point, it came to a head after the shooting in Dolores Park. And Supervisor Sheeny came to us and said, hey, if, depending what you want to do, there may be some formation funds that you can leverage.
Okay, formation funds? Okay.
Yeah, well, funds that we could leverage for exploring this.
Was that a one-time deal, or are you continuing to being funded by that supervisor's office or by the city? I'm trying to work out if you are a city body or not. That's what we're trying to get to the bottom of right here. Do you consider yourself a city body?
Absolutely not. I'm not getting paid to do this. I'm donating my free time just like I am today.
Right. So you've got one, I guess, injection of money from former Supervisor Sheehy and nothing since. Is that correct?
I'd like to. We do communicate regularly with the City Parks Department, or I guess Public Parks Department. Jim, did I get that right? Yeah, Rec and Park, and we're subject to open records, so I would hesitate to mislead you on that. So I think we can get that from an open record search. So
you didn't answer my question.
I am unsure the answer to your question about continuing funds. And I know there's a pot of money. I don't know how
do you have a
much
treasurer?
we've gone through.
Do you have
we
a treasurer?
Do, yes.
Is that person in the room?
That person's not in the room.
Would the gentleman approach? You seem to have some information on that. Yeah. Please identify yourself.
Yes, my name is Jim Chappell. I live at 19th and Guerrero, and like Mr. McHugh, I am a neighbor. We are merely a group of neighbors. We have received no money ourselves. We have no money from the city. We have asked the city to spend money. City departments have spent money, but we are strictly a voluntary group. We have no obligations to the city. The city has no obligations to us.
And
we are not sanctioned by any city department.
Thank you. And that one injection of cash that you got was delivered to you, or that was money that former Supervisor Sheehy?
The supervisor directed it to city departments to spend. It did not come to us.
Based on your advice, on your input. Okay, thank you.
Go ahead, member.
I was going to say, to be clear, there are lots of policy bodies that involve people who are not paid. So just being a volunteer does not mean you're not involved in the policy body.
Right, correct. So I don't know anything about the Green Benefits District, but I do know about Commercial Benefits District, and Commercial Benefits Districts are voted on through the city. So is this the same function? Well, you guys, did you have to have a Green Benefits District? Who votes to create this?
So the public at some point may vote to create this. But we're not at that point at all.
Okay, so
we're just a group of neighbors.
Okay. All right.
I think there's actually a petition that would have to be signed by the public. There's going to have to be a vote that would be submitted by the public. I think that the other thing is that we've been getting together and meeting prior to this being an option. And we've already discussed that we're going to continue if we want to discuss all the options, including a GBD. And we've made a point of stating that should this not continue, that we're going to continue meet to look at ways to improve the neighborhood. So it is absolutely not contingent on the GBD. It's about improving our neighborhood.
And these meetings are open to the public?
We have a group. These are a steering committee meetings. So we have a group of about 8 of us that meet on a regular basis. We have held a series of open public meetings. Those meetings are open to the public.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Quickly, because we.
Real quick, so the city, they have a consultant group, Build Public or Place Labs, which gets funding from the city to support their research, the marketing. They do a survey, to do the petition. It's very much like a community benefit district,
Correct.
except for the things. And in past GBDs, they've received over $120,000. There's probably more. And in order for them to actually get a GBD going, yes, they get voted through the city. And so.
Right. Okay, thank you. I mean, I don't know anything about the Green Benefits District. The commercial or community benefits districts are set up working with the city, but I don't know if they're a city policy body. And not yet, please. So I wish we had
I wish we had an attorney here.
attorney here
Just
to
looking at-
advise us.
Yeah, I mean, looking into the packet that we're not at yet, it seems like the respondent has provided some information about SF Department of Public Works has a full-time Green Benefits District program manager that recruits neighbors like we see in front of us for these formation committees, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, there's, what is it, DeBose Park Friends Committee, which is something that you can get voted to be on, and that would be I think a policy body. So this sounds to me like, if it isn't already, it's approaching that, and maybe, I'm leaning towards treating it as a policy body based on what I'm hearing, and they need to learn and kind of understand what their requirements are about open meetings and the right to record, et cetera. I mean, that's kind of where I'm leaning.
Okay. And then,
So I'd say yes, we do have jurisdiction. Would be my initial instinct.
okay. And would that include jurisdiction over a board meeting? Like you said, there's about 8 people who meet regularly, but they do have open public meetings also.
Was actually, and I know this was about filming at a meeting. Does anyone recall, was that a public open meeting, or was that one of their board meetings?
Mr. Sullivan, when you refused to record the meeting, was that an open public meeting?
Yes, that was an open public meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Through the chair, we could. We could continue this to the call of the chair. Maybe have our DCA look at it more closely. I mean, obviously, could use some legal opinion here.
I just caution that we have a description of what a policy body. This was not created by an ordinance,
Right.
and it's just my personal opinion that it is a general, just a community group that's getting together to talk.
Right.
Until the Board of Supervisor creates it by ordinance,
Right.
I don't believe that
Yeah.
they are a policy body yet.
Yeah, so the definition of a policy body is 1, the Board of Supervisors, 2, any other board or commission enumerated in the charter, any board, commission, committee, or other body created by ordinance or resolution of the Board of Supervisors, any advisory board, commission, committee, or body created by the initiative of a policy body, which this was created by neighbors so far, and then any standing committee of a policy body, so that doesn't. Policy body shall not include a committee which consists solely of employees of the city. That doesn't pertain. Any advisory board, committee, or council created by federal, state, or local grant, nothing.
But if you've heard to page 874, which we're not at yet, there seems to be some evidence that maybe this was started at a certain grassroots level, but maybe it's gotten to a point. I mean, at the very least, to check with the Green Benefit District Program Manager and say, is this one of yours? I mean, that could be one of our instructions for our DCA because we just don't have that information. I'd love to hear from them before we make a ruling on jurisdiction.
Maybe we can refer it up to the full task force with the recommendation with no recommendation, with instructions to the DCA with your question about jurisdiction. But I believe we should be very specific on that question.
Right.
Yeah, and with reference to, please look at page 874 in the packet because there might be some,
And what is that specific reasoning that you believe this might be a policy body?
It states,
Because the program manager, the Green Benefit District Program Manager recruits property owners for Green Benefit District formation committees. And so
is this one of those? Yeah, that's really the question. Through the chair. Hold on, we're still talking.
In a minute. I mean, here, in that same page, it has Green Benefit Districts formation committees and Green Benefit districts are the result of San Francisco Article 15, public realm landscaping, et cetera, which is a Board of Supervisors modification of California Streets and Highway Code. So the Board of Supervisors basically created the Green Benefits District. But again, the question is, does this committee, they're not part of it yet because they haven't been voted on yet. So
That's what I'm looking for. The sentence is SF's DPW has a full-time GBD program manager that recruits them to form these committees. Where is this entity in that process, or is it? That's the question I want to ask.
So we will submit that question to this department, asking that question.
That'd be great.
okay, do we need any other information right now?
Well, since you have the parties, you can.
Sure, so first to respond and then we'll. No, go ahead.
Yeah, and thank you for pointing that out. I would say this is that I believe that a member of that department is here tonight. I also believe that their job responsibility isn't to recruit, it's there to advise when there are groups like ours that are interested in potentially forming one of these. And I would encourage you that if we're going to move forward, I'd ask that we would include a request and a ruling from the city attorney. This is something that we are donating our free time, and I think we've got to be very careful here because the precedent is going to be, and transparency is great, but when somebody flips on a camera and starts recording in the back of the room without asking, it intimidates presenters, it intimidates the audience, it shuts down the open communication of the community members. And I think we've got to be very careful because then it can be subject to harassment. I don't know if I'm going to start being asked for email troves. I don't know what the requirements are. I've already invested 5 hours of this, and so we're going to get to a point where we're erecting hurdles for people that are just out there and trying to improve the community, and which is already getting people motivated to that level is already difficult enough.
One second.
Through the chair.
The petitioner had
I'd actually like to hear from the
from the guy from the city.
yeah, that's what I'd like to hear from next.
What I would say is the city supports green benefit districts. That's why they made this ordinance 14-14. It lays out how a formation committee is to work to get to a green benefit district. It states the petition drive, what's required, and everything. If 14-14 didn't exist, we wouldn't be having this conversation. They wouldn't be having public meetings. There might be another district, assessment district that they would be doing. As far as video recording, I tried to be as unobtrusive as possible and to take the video recording. And again, everything, even in the formation process, the citizens of San Francisco can't voluntarily opt out of the process. In other words, they can draw the districts, they can have the petition, they can do the vote. Citizens, they can, they're in the district, whether they like it or not, in the process.
Okay. Can we hear, from the person from the DPW, is it DPW? Come on up, please.
Didn't realize he was here.
I know.
Good afternoon. Jonathan Goldberg, San Francisco Public Works Green Benefit District Program Manager.
Okay, so where, this committee, where in the process are they?
So they are conducting outreach and determining what is truly feasible for them to pursue the formation of an assessment district. They are a collection of neighbors, businesses, property owners. article referenced by Mr. Sullivan is truly dictating the sort of formation hurdles that trigger sort of the next steps when legislation is introduced at the Board of Supervisors to actually make this a formal entity. These individuals are going through a process to determine what is feasible, what is appropriate for a district.
Right, and my neighborhood just went through this, took like 4 years to create the community benefits district. I'm assuming this is the same, but once this is proposed, it goes up for a vote for every property owner that's within that district.
That's correct.
And they have to get, is it 51% or is it a higher percent? I don't know.
So it's a 30% sort of plus one weighted vote in the petition, and it's a majority vote in the ballot.
Okay. So if I understand it right now, this committee is just in the beginning phases of this, and they have not been. This committee has not been created by any city, department, agency, or anything. Okay.
No, that's correct.
Okay. Thank you. So I mean, I don't.
That's very illuminating.
Yeah, I don't think we have jurisdiction yet. I think that once they are created, then we would have to see if they are considered a policy body. I don't even know if the community benefits districts are considered. Are they considered?
They are.
So once they're created, they're a policy body.
That's correct.
Great. So that my community benefits district, when they have meetings, have to be open to the public,
Have
run
to be
public
ADA
comment,
accessible, have to
everything
be
that-
bound by the
Yep.
Brown Act.
Yep. Okay.
And just out of curiosity, so when they're going through that process, is there training involved so that people understand what kind of public access needs to be
Yes, so
accommodated?
the city attorney advises that they get an annual refresher on the Brown Act and the Sunshine Ordinance. That is provided in the one existing green benefit district by a former SF State professor and former member of the Planning Commission. Blanking on his name, but
All right. So
It sounds like we don't currently have jurisdiction.
I agree.
Would you like to allow general public comment at this time, as there's several members of the public?
Yeah,
who appear to wanna
but
talk?
before we do that, we should have a motion.
Yes.
So somebody make a motion.
I motion that it appears that the Sunshine Ordinance Task Force does not currently have jurisdiction in this matter.
Second.
Okay.
And this determination of jurisdiction will be forwarded to the full task force for finalization. Yes, only the full task force can make final
True,
determinations.
okay, correct. I'm
It'll
sorry.
go with your recommendation that we do not have jurisdiction.
Correct. Okay. Is there any public comment? Come on up
On that motion.
on the motion.
Good afternoon. My name is Roger Hoffman. I attended 2 meetings of the Mission Dolores Formation Committee. These are the open meetings. And I can, since September 17th and November 15th of this year, I can verify that the committee organizers requested no video recordings during those meetings. So the question before you is, does the Sunshine Ordinance Task Force have jurisdiction? Per the city attorney, the task force has jurisdiction over passive meeting bodies defined as follows in section 67.3C1 of the Sunshine Ordinance. It's one sentence, I'll read it to you. Advisory committees created by the initiative of a member of a policy body, the mayor, or a department head are subject to the Sunshine Ordinance. So there's 2 parts to this. Was the committee created by the initiative of a department head? In the packet, in your file packet, you'll see emails from including Mohammed Nuru, head of the Department of Public Works, and ultimately he is the one who initiated this whole program. He is the one who hired Mr. Goldberg. He's provided funds to Green Benefit District formation committees you'll see an email from Mr. Goldberg saying why it was important for the city to fund the formation committees at an early stage. That way, the city has influence and leverage over the process. The complaint demonstrates that the initiative for creating the Mission Dolores Green Benefit District did, in fact, come from Mr. Nuru. You'll see emails that say, Mohammed, you're the best. Is the committee an advisory committee? That's part 2. So if it satisfies these 2 criteria, then it, in fact, is under your jurisdiction. Going forward, you heard a little bit about the process of a petition, a ballot proceeding, but finally, it's the Board of Supervisors that has to create a benefit district. The outcome of all of this process is called a management plan. The management plan is submitted to the Board of Supervisors. It is the advisory document created by this formation committee that allows the Board of Supervisors to make a decision on whether to create it or not. So I believe, based on these 2 facts, that it is under your jurisdiction. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment? I'm sorry, sir, you've been part of the discussion. Okay, no public comment, no further public comment. Let's have a vote on the motion.
I think that comment deserves some discussion.
Okay, so
because I am looking at that, and part of my question is this a passive meeting body? And it seems to me like
I took his comments to mean that the city program to create Green Benefits District was created by the city, right? And it's funded by the city, by DPW. I don't believe that this neighborhood group so far is a policy body of any type, passive or active, because they haven't been voted on. And the whole process is to get enough people in their self-described area to vote for this, to vote to be, if it works like a community benefit district, to be assessed more in property tax so that money can be used for the benefit of that self-defined area. And I'm assuming that since it's green benefits, there's some requirements on what can be done with the funds and stuff. But
fair enough.
So I think I'm comfortable with the motion as is. It'll go up to the full task force, and at that point, we'll have the full task force discuss it.
Right, and then we can have further discussion, because it seems like we don't, but I agree that the points brought up, it's where do you draw the line? They are on the path to become.
Correct.
But where?
Right. Yeah. And to me, it's the vote, because they can lose the vote.
Right.
Right, and then nothing happens.
And through the chair, maybe, a word of advice to the respondents. They should start reading, open meeting laws and become familiar with it and get ready for that, because it sounds like they're heading that direction. Right. We have one of the best open meeting laws in the country that look to us. So that's something in your future meetings you might want to prepare for. But I think we should take a vote.
And I would reiterate, even though it seems like people might be afraid of being recorded, but if they're going to continue to participate, they will be participating in public meetings, and perhaps it's good to get them used to that kind of process.
Mm-hmm. Okay, good. Take the vote.
Member LaHood?
Aye.
Member LaHood, aye. Member Highland?
Aye.
Member Highland, aye. Chair Canada?
Aye.
Chair Canada, the motion passes.
Okay, next item.
Item number 8, announcements, comments, questions, future agenda items, and pending calendar by members of the committee.
Anybody have anything?
When's our next date?
Thank you. Refresh our memories, Victor, on the schedule for.
We probably should wait until the chair assigns new committee chairs, as the dates and the times will most likely, and membership will most likely all change.
I thought that wasn't going to happen until April. I asked Bruce about that.
I believe we need to make some assignments now, as certain members are not able to sit on certain committees. So,
Will that happen at the orientation meeting?
I think that'd be excellent.
It's my hope.
Okay. Okay. All right. Anything else?
Maybe alcohol will inspire people. Yeah. Nope.
Nope. Okay. So, are
Item
we
number 9.
adjournment? Motion
So moved.
Second?
by acclamation? All right. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Quarter.